Literature gives us the opportunity to experience lives, perspectives, and worlds different from our own. Though remember, friend, a good story has many readings, and this is but one. This tale starts with a tragedy. You're a 15-year-old boy living in the city, and your older brother has just been shot to death. Even though you didn't see the gunman, you're pretty sure you know who did it. You also know exactly where your brother kept his gun. And now that it's in your hands, you have a choice. Do you seek revenge, or do you put the gun back and mourn? Well, you know that the rules in Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds makes it crystal clear what you're supposed to do, right? Oh, but wait, you haven't read it yet. Not to worry. Together we'll get to the bottom of this without ruining any of the story's surprises. Thanks so much to Fabulous for supporting today's literary discussion. So you haven't read Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Well, that might be due to it only having been published in 2017. In fact, it's so new and has so many twists and turns that we're going to be extra careful this episode not to spoil anything. Instead, we're going to focus on its primary theme, how the cycle of revenge traps young people into making bad choices. Heads up though, since the impact of gun violence is a prominent theme in the book, we wanted to let you know up front that we'll be touching on that in this episode as well. So if that's not something you're comfortable with, no worries, and we'll see you next time. Long Way Down is written in free verse, a kind of poetry that eschews rhyme and metrical patterns. Each page looks like a standalone poem, but it's also the next part of the story. And Reynolds employs poetic devices like personification, simile, and imagery, as well as structural elements like variable line length and even the shape of the actual text, all to give us insight into the main character's evolving mental state. And that main character is you, William Holloman, a 15-year-old boy living in an unnamed city in the United States. You've grown up on the 8th floor of an apartment building with your single mother and your older brother Sean. And since your father died when you were much younger, Sean stepped up the best he could to fill that role. Which makes it all the more traumatizing when one day, as you're hanging out with your friend Tony, you hear shots ring out. You both take cover, but when you emerge, you see Sean's girlfriend Letitia mourning over his dead body. You're overcome with grief. But before you can shed a tear, you remember the rules. 3 tenets to follow in the event of a murder, which Sean and the other men of the neighborhood have taught you to live by. Rule number 1, crying. Don't, no matter what. Rule number 2, snitching. Don't, no matter what. And rule number 3, revenge. Do, no matter what. So you don't cry, even though it feels like an earthquake is swallowing you up. And it's no surprise that when the police arrive, every potential witness, including you, follows rule number 2. Nobody says a word to them. So that leaves rule number 3, revenge. Though you didn't see the gunman, you've always been good at solving murders you see on TV crime shows, and you use those same skills to deduce who shot Sean. Carlson Riggs, a guy with a chip on his shoulder who was once friends with your brother until he moved a few blocks away and was trying to become a member of a neighborhood gang. Shooting Sean would get him in for sure. And that's when you break into your brother's dresser and take his gun. You slept with it under your pillow that night, and the next morning you stick it in your waistband and set out to get revenge. At the 8th floor elevator door, you press the down button and ready yourself for what's to come. Though while you wait, let me give you my elevator pitch for author Jason Reynolds. In the past decade, Reynolds has become one of the United States' most acclaimed poets and novelists for young adults, both by critics and the public. Long Way Down received multiple literary awards and was a New York Times #1 bestseller, and has received an impressive number of 5-star reviews online. A pretty good sign that it isn't just critics who love his work. For Long Way Down, he drew inspiration from the real-life experiences of far too many young people who find themselves trapped in the cycle of violence. In Reynolds' own youth, a friend of his was murdered, and like William, he vowed revenge. The only reason he didn't follow through was that he wasn't sure who did it. And as an adult, he's now grateful that his lack of knowledge stopped him. Now a successful author and poet, Reynolds frequently visits detention centers as a guest artist and interacts with the very young people caught in this cycle. He also dedicated Long Way Down to all those imprisoned adolescents, his message to them being, in his own words, "I could have been you, I was you, but you could be me." Your elevator's here. Back to the story. As the doors open, you hesitate just a moment before pressing L for lobby. And here is where we hit major spoiler territory, which we're not going to do. But what I can tell you is that during William's long elevator trip down, he's haunted by a different ghost on every floor, each offering their own story of how their lives were impacted by the 3 rules, and William is forced to consider the ramifications of his plan. What if Riggs wasn't the murderer? What if he shoots and misses? What if somebody who knows Riggs decides to follow the rules too? When the elevator finally reaches the lobby, like a coffin being lowered into a grave, you're challenged by the ghosts to make a choice about what to do next. They've given you all the information necessary to make your own decision about your fate, but you're going to have to put some thought into it quickly, because the elevator doors are opening now. And that's where the story ends. One of the most powerful things about Long Way Down is that instead of telling you what to think, Reynolds invites you to think. He respects his readers enough, both young adults and adult adults, to make connections and draw their own conclusions about the repercussions of seeking revenge. And this part is also reflected in his powerful use of free verse. His sometimes minimalistic language choices invites you, the reader, to complete thoughts and draw conclusions in your own way. This book is a furious, fast, and frantic look at teenage gun violence, told by a master storyteller exploring very current and very real issues, and it's one that'll keep you thinking about its moral quandaries well after you finish it. So do yourself a favor and read Long Way Down for yourself. Then, not only can you personally experience this masterwork's twists and turns, but you can ponder the questions that William's ghosts personally raise for you. You know, doing this series for a few months now has really helped a lot of us at EC get back into the habit of reading more books, which got me thinking about other beneficial habits I wanted to get back into after falling out of practice during the pandemic. QR fortuitous sponsor for the week, Fabulous. For the uninitiated, Fabulous is the award-winning self-development app to help you build better habits and achieve your goals. How's an app supposed to do that, you ask? Well, for starters, Fabulous is based on decades of behavioral science research under the patronage of Professor Dan Ariely of Duke University, breaking down proven healthy habits into small tasks that you can easily achieve every single day. Case in point, to get your brain wired into the habit-forming mindset, it begins with asking you to repeat something simple each morning, like drink a glass of water. Then over time, as you get more accustomed to forming new habits, it asks you to add additional tiny healthy tasks to that routine at your own pace, quite literally getting you into the long-lasting habit of forming good habits. Not to mention, it's loaded with other features like daily coaching to develop your motivation, a wellness exercise library, and its aesthetic is kinda like Journey and Monument Valley had a helpful baby, meaning it's always nice to look at. So if you'd like a hand in building your ideal science-based daily routine, click the link in the description below. And the first 100 people who do will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription, and of course be helping out our channel at the same time. As always, thanks so much for that. Greetings, Ahmed Ziad, Turk, Alicia Bramble, Angelo Valenciana, Casey Muscha, Dominic Valenciana, Joseph Blame, Kyle Murgatroyd, and O'Reels1. Y'all are the best!